I thought I would learn from Karen, who was before me, and she said, I wished I had a table with a water on it. And so he said, would you like a table with a water? And I said, yes. Learn from others, right? I'm so excited to be talking to you all today, and thankful for Plywood People and Chick-fil-A for putting this on. And I'm here to talk about something that we all want to do better. We all want to tell our story better. But how many of us find it hard to work on our organization versus in our organization, right? It's hard to take the time. And so I want to start by congratulating you on investing in yourself today. This is a huge step in just better understanding how to tell your story. I was thinking about this talk, and I was remembering a story of my friend who has 3 kids. I have 2 kids, actually. That's my family. I have 2 boys. My friend has a son and 2 daughters, and her daughter was in 1st grade, and she was driving them to school, and they got all the way to the school, and the 1st grader said, Mom, I forgot my shoes. I forgot to put on my shoes. And so my friend was sitting there with this dilemma. Do I go back home and get the kids' shoes and then bring her back to school and let her be tardy? Or do I let her face a natural consequence of showing up to school with no shoes on and walk around in socks all day? And so I thought about that as a working mom. I would be really tempted to say, well, you get to go to school wearing your socks today. It's tough to remember it all. And so storytelling really is about the details, and it's about working on the organization and thinking through, you don't want your employees showing up to work with no shoes on, right? And so we have to focus on our business just as much as we work in it and on our organization. So storytelling is an art, and I love this. I love natural art, like original art. Anybody else love original art? Like Hobby Lobby does not cut it for me. And I love it, and it's like a hobby. It's something that you collect, and so I'm going to show you a piece of art in my home that tells you a little bit about me. So this is my friend Natalie Sams actually painted this. She's a local artist in Athens, Georgia, and I live in Athens, Georgia, and I'm a graduate of the University of Georgia. Any dog fans? Go Dogs! That's right. Back-to-back national champions, right? We get to keep saying that for the rest of the year. But as I was thinking about this, your story is your original art. It's different than everyone else's original art. It's yours, it's unique, and so you are this culmination, your background, your experiences, your education, the people that you meet. And I love this quote that Charlie Tremendous Jones says, or wrote, you will be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. I would add, and the places you travel. Because really, it is about the relationships that we develop along the way. It is about the education and the experiences that we have that start to form our story. And so you get to, you need to be the number one expert in you. And that is, it's hard to do because a lot of times we're just running through life and we're checking off our to-do list and we're showing up at meetings, hopefully on time, and we feel a little ragged in the race. But I want you to take a second today and I want you to interview yourself, or even when you get home, I want you to start by getting to know yourself. This is actually a really weird exercise, but if you could do it in front of a video camera and watch it back, that's actually really helpful when thinking about telling your story. So I'm going to give you a couple of questions. What makes you unique? What makes your organization unique? What makes you stand out? There's a lot of organizations that likely do what you do, but there's a way that you do it that's different. There's an experience that you've had, a story, a success story of somebody that's come through the program that's different. Tell that story. Find the thing that's unique to you. And then I love this. What motivates you to be who you are? What is your why? Simon Sinek coined it perfectly. Start with why. Dig deep. Why are you here? Why are you doing this work? Why does it matter to you? Is there something that's happened in your story, in your background, in your experience that caused you to want to get involved? or want to give. There's a lot of different things that you're thinking about when you think about motivation. How would the people who know you best describe you? These are actually great interview questions, if anybody interviews employees. But how would the people who know you best, or even that are serving in your organization or giving to your organization, like how would they describe you? It's important to know what it's like to be on the other side of me, right? And so ask them. I think that's super helpful. If someone were to draft you on a team, they were to say, hey, I want you to join my team and I want you to do this. What would fire you up to get to do on that team? That's part of knowing your skill set and your strengths. Marcus Buckingham, the author of StrengthsFinder. Any StrengthsFinder fans? I'm an assessment junkie. I could tell you all the things. Marcus Buckingham says the definition of a strength is not just something that you're good at, but something you enjoy. And I love that because work should be fun. Work should be fulfilling. And so that's part of helping you know your story is what gets you excited, what makes you fired up to get to do day in and day out. And then what bold decision have you had to make in the trajectory or the life cycle of your organization, or would you make in order to stay true to who you are? So I was asked this question as a interviewee for a client of mine, and they asked me, what bold decision has this brand made to stay true to who they were? And the example that the interviewer gave was Chick-fil-A. I thought that was appropriate. We're sitting here at Chick-fil-A headquarters. And he said, Chick-fil-A decided to be closed on Sunday because of who they were, because of who they are. And so many external forces would put pressure on them and say, are you sure? Are you sure? And today, I don't know the exact stats, but I know at one point in time, and it may still be true, Chick-fil-A average unit volume for a Chick-fil-A store was $1 million higher than its number one competitor, McDonald's, per year. Average unit volume per store. And they were open one less day a week. So that's huge. Think about the bold decisions that you have had to make or that you would make, and those are defining to your organization. So once you know yourself, you can lead yourself. The same is true about your audience. Once you know your audience, you can lead your audience. But leading yourself first, then you can lead your audience. And so we want to own real estate in someone's mind. How do we own real estate in someone's mind? If you have done this hard work of getting to know yourself and building out your story and crafting a narrative, and someone else doesn't know it, or they don't feel it, then you're not being successful. You have work to do on your brand. But if you can ask someone, what is the purpose of this organization, and they can repeat back to you maybe a core value or a core value proposition that you offer to your community, then you get to own real estate in someone else's mind. Marty Neumeier wrote a book, Zig Before You Zag, and he said, a brand is a result. This is just mind-blowing if you just truly break it down. A brand is a result. It is a customer's gut feeling about your product or service, or company or organization, your brand name. It is not what you say it is what they say it is. So at the end of the day, how are we influencing? Owning real estate in someone's mind is about influence. So how are we influencing what they say it is? It's the experience. So take time, think about the customer experience. What's it like when someone calls your organization on the phone? Who answers? What is the mini script that someone says when they answer the phone? What is the welcome message that they get in the first email when they sign up for your newsletter? What's it like to be on the other side of your organization? Think through the volunteer experience or the donor and the giving experience. Walk through it. Be your own customer. Go through it and ask a lot of questions. You've interviewed yourself, now interview your customer. Get to know them. I was thinking about influence and how we want to change people's minds about whatever it is that we're doing. We want to increase awareness and increase impact. So last year we got a phone call and we got to work with the PGA Tour. And we told the story of last year, and we're doing it again this year. So I want you to all come out to the Tour Championship at East Lake in Atlanta. Okay, anybody been? Yes, good, come on, come again this August. But they were so excited because this documentary was coming out on Netflix called Full Swing. Anybody seen it? Yay! It's so fun. It's fascinating. I feel like golf has been this elusive sport for so long that you don't really get to know the players like you do in other sports. You don't really know their history and their background and their experiences, what motivates them to do what they do. Golf is grueling. Talk about a sport of failures. My kids play baseball. Baseball is a sport of failures. You only have to hit it 3 times every 10 at bats. Are y'all impressed with my baseball knowledge? Thank you. Okay, so Full Swing on Netflix debuted last year. And did you guys know, I just thought this was so fun, rounds played in 2022 were up 15% on average. And that's comparing to the 2017-2019 period. I think for obvious reasons, they neglected to include 2020 and 2021. The National Golf Foundation also said that the number of on-course participants increased to 25.6 million. Still relatively low, I think, nationwide. But that's a net gain of 500,000 new people experienced the game of golf last year. And a record 3.3 million people played on a golf course for the first time. Is that not phenomenal? You guys, that is the impact of storytelling. That is the result of you finding out your customer, yourself, knowing what your why is, and digging deep into what's unique about you. Following people, it's authentic. They didn't have to make anything up. They didn't have to write a script and create a drama series. It was naturally dramatic because we are people. And so you get to do that with your organization. Also, I feel weird talking about this next case study because we're at Chick-fil-A, but we also started working with a concept called Bruxy. It's a chicken and waffles concept out of Southern California, and being that there are only 5 stores in Southern California, we had never tried it before. We had to literally take their word for it. That I think my last bullet there says this is we called it the Louis Vuitton of chicken and waffles because it's backed by the same private equity group that backs Louis Vuitton. So that's fun. And they came to us and they said, you guys, we have come up with the most unique restaurant concept. We have this crispy waffle dough that's really fluffy and doughy on the inside, and it's not too sweet. It's a proprietary blend, and then we hand batter these chicken tenders and we put them in the waffle. It's like a waffle sandwich. And some of them have fried eggs and some of them have slaw, and it's just really, really remarkable. And our mouths were watering. I thought this was appropriate to tell you before lunch so that you could all get hungry. But our mouths were watering and we were believing the hype even though we had not tasted it yet. And so I think as you're thinking about your story and looking at your customer experience, go, okay, I'm building some hype, and is it going to match? Is it worth the hype? So you've got to do the granular work on those small things to make sure that your brand is matching the hype of the story that you're telling. So what do you want people to rave about? What's your punchline? We're going to go over 3 steps to telling your story better here at the end. But I'm going to segue us a little bit to talk about what you want people to rave about can be very specific. I think the most important thing that you could do for your organization is focus on your employees, your volunteers, the people that know you best. This is See.Spark.Go. This is our logo. We've been in business for 16 years, and my husband and I started it together. We wanted to tell the best stories in the world. That was our goal. My husband's former pastor, and so we just had a heart for young people. We wanted to run a really great internship program because we're in a college town. Why not? And so we didn't have any idea that 16 years later, we would have 50 employees in 3 different offices and have told these incredible national brand stories. But we've been really diligent and really focused on the experience that people have both inside our organization and outside of our organization. And so these are 3, I'm gonna give you 3 words, and these are really not sexy words, but I promise you they will make impact. The first is consistency. Our meeting cadence is the most valuable thing that we do in our organization. And that sounds so weird when there's entire books written about the death by meetings. We have very strategic meetings that happen on time, every time. And if you can be consistent with your team internally and meet about the important things, you can start building your tribe within. Because the ultimate goal here is people telling your story for you, and you have a natural workforce. You have a natural army of brand ambassadors, and those are the people that work for you and with you, your teammates. No competition. The second is repeatability. What gets celebrated gets repeated. So instead of sideways energy talking about water cooler this or that, or so-and-so said this or that, and I didn't agree, or let's team up against this person, that is so not helpful in your organization, and it's not helpful for your story. So celebrate the wins. We have a channel in our Slack channel called Weekly Wins, and it is the most fun channel because people are constantly shouting each other out. So-and-so got this, and so-and-so did that, and I saw this presentation, and it was amazing. So you can actually build your tribe internally by celebrating what you want repeated. Give awards. We have a Flying Pig Award. It's for the person who made the impossible possible. And so we look back at all the weekly wins of the month before, and we look at who was shouted out the most, basically, and we have a ceramic flying pig, and we ceremonially give that to the Flying Pig Award recipient each month. It's cheesy, but it works, and people want to win, so tap into that. Celebrate the wins. The third one is emotional appeal. I say it this way: if you're not excited, you're not invited. So you have to be excited. You have to show up ready to attack the week, not dreading coming to work. Yeah, I love this idea of living for Monday. Like, who says that, first of all? I can't wait to go to work on Monday. Monday is going to be the greatest because I get to start attacking this goal with my teammates, my internal team. And so we get excited internally, and guess what happens? Our customers get excited externally. Most of the brands that we work with will tell us we are more excited about their brand than they are. And that's true, but I believe enthusiasm wins. So get excited. So now let's get to it. Here's the toolkit. You can write some of these down, and then I will give you a takeaway that I want to make sure everyone does invest in once you have all of those stock and asset gifts from Karen. Okay, the toolkit, a punchline, 2 to 3 words. These are just the words that capture, eat more chicken. Like, what are the things that capture your audience and capture the essence of what it is that you do? You need to have an elevator pitch. You need to have 1 to 2 sentences that accurately, that you can tell somebody on an elevator or in a parking garage, this is what I do. And start with the problem. I solve this problem for people. So many brands have a story and they don't know how to tell it. I help people tell their story better. A paragraph about you. You always need a paragraph. Tuari and I were talking about this beforehand. Like, I should know this. You should always have a paragraph about you and you should have a bio. You should have all of these things that just naturally describe and unpack so that it can go on printed materials and it can go on your website and all of those things. But really detail that out and think through it and have somebody edit it. A press kit. So your press kit is going to have a combination of things. It's going to have bios on your key players, your founder, your executive director, anybody that's in leadership. It's going to have a backgrounder on why your organization exists. And then it can have press releases on timely news and information. You know, we broke ground on this date, or are breaking ground. It can have a whole slew of press releases, both past and current. And then high resolution photography. How many of you, just I would love to know, have invested in high resolution photography for your organization? Good. That is the single greatest investment in storytelling that you can make. Grab a photographer and have them follow you around for a day. Have them attend a meeting and take candids. Make sure you have good headshots. All of the things, take them to an event. Photography and videography help bring to life the story that you're telling. And then lastly, a high-impact website with a lead generation form. So lead gen form is just your standard name, email address. That could be it. If you just get their email address, that's great. You can add other things, or you can come up with ways to get those things later, but you want to make sure that you get them into a funnel so that you can communicate regularly. So let's get to it. Here is the number one recipe for telling a compelling story. I'm going to hit this twice. And we've kind of touched on several of these things, but the first thing is authenticity. Stories have to be real, and they have to be authentic to you. You have to know yourself to lead yourself. We talked about that, right? I had a teammate who was 22 years old. We maybe had 6 employees at this time, and she was a bulldog in all the senses of the world. Yes, she had graduated from the University of Georgia, so there was that, but she also would pitch media lights out. She'd call reporters on the phone and tell them stories, and we had a reporter call my husband actually one day, and he said, "Who is this girl, Hannah? She's the best publicist I've ever talked to." And we were like, man, that's some feedback, right? Feedback is oxygen, so that really breathed life into us. But one day, the reason I'm telling you this is because one day she came to me, and we had a new client coming in town, and she was so nervous about presenting. She was so nervous. And we were a small team, and I really wanted to win this client over. And so I said, "Hannah, I can't afford for you not to be confident." Like, just period, the end. I can't afford for you not to be confident. And I watched her that day just kind of get this aha moment of, okay, I can be confident. She chose confidence in that day, and that's what we all have to do. Our story is unique to us. It's not less than anybody else's story. It's our story. And so be authentic, own your story, and choose to be confident and walk in it. The second thing is, and we talked about your audience, the customer experience. Stories have to connect with your audience right now. Why does it matter right now? Get into the weeds of their life. What are they dealing with? What's going on? Agitate the problem. Any Story Brand fans? Okay, yeah, I love Story Brand. Tueri and I were with J.J. Peterson in Nashville, and he talked about agitating the problem and saying, like, yeah, if you don't work with me, it's going to be really bad. Like, it's just going to be really bad. Or if you don't come volunteer in my organization or be a part of this mission, like, not as many people are going to be touched or impacted. We need you. And we need you right now. So they care. They wouldn't join forces with you if they didn't care. People care, but they need to know. And so you're telling them your story in a way that convinces them and compels them to act right now. And the third thing is audacity. So stories have to live up to the hype. Similar to my chicken and waffles experience. I didn't even tell you. So Bruxy opened its first East Coast location in Athens, Georgia. Yes, on April 2nd. So if you want to make the trip to Athens, you can have the most fantastic waffle sandwich creations that you've ever had. And they literally came to Georgia because we won back-to-back national championships. So, just to give you that shout out too. I thought that was funny. I mean, what a reason to open a location. And, but they had audacity, they really lived up to the hype. The food was great. We were like, yeah, we get it. This is amazing. Hopefully we'll be opening more and more locations. And it kind of reminds me of what Truett Cathy, to go back to Chick-fil-A, what Truett Cathy said when Boston Market was gaining market share, and he banged the table and he said, we are not going to compromise on quality just to beat out a competitor. We will focus on getting better. And if we focus on getting better, then our customers will demand that we get bigger. And has that not been true about Chick-fil-A? And so be audacious. Don't be afraid. Don't feel like you've got to be everything to everyone. Focus in on what makes you unique and live up to the hype. Think visual clarity. Think beautiful design. Think punchy punchlines. Get straight to the point and make it matter. And so I'm going to leave you with this idea that there's no such thing as competition. Kind of a crazy thought. I was 25 years old when I started See.Spark.Go with my husband, and I asked my former boss to come and coach us 3 or 4 years in, and he said, Brittany, there's no such thing as competition. And I was like, I'm a young business owner. I'm thinking, what? What do you mean? Not that we were focused on competition, not that we were pulling our hair out thinking about, winning. We really weren't. We were just doing the best we could with what we had at the time. But that statement really revolutionized the way I thought about serving clients and serving other people. Do that. Don't worry about the competition. Do what's right in front of you to the best of your ability, and don't worry about competition. I flew to Indianapolis, and I'm sitting in this woman's office, and she had a whiteboard, and it was just handwritten letters, and it said, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. Right? I thought, that's it. That's what he meant when he said there's no such thing as competition. Winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So if you find yourself thinking about what they did, or I wish I could be that, you've already put yourself in the losing seat. But if you focus on what's right in front of you, serving your customer well, serving your internal team well, appreciating them, celebrating them, cheering them on, thinking about who's benefiting from your organization, loving on them, doing that really well, telling those stories. Stories are unique, remember? Only you have them. So find them and tell them again and again and again, because there's no such thing as competition. We do live in an abundance mentality. There's enough business for everyone. There's enough giving for everyone. There really is. And you never know, there's opportunities to collaborate. We live in such a collaborative world. I love Instagram. Like, two people can share the same post at the same time now. Like, that's my favorite innovation in the algorithm these days. But there's a lot you can do with others. Now you don't have to treat everybody as like, this is mine and this is yours. It's ours. It's all ours. So your story matters. And to close us out, I'm going to give you some homework. There is a super fun tool called, and I asked JJ Tueri if I could share this, a super fun tool called onlinesalesscript.com. And it was put together by the people behind StoryBrand, Donald Miller. And this is a great tool for you to put in, like, what is the problem that you're solving? Who are your key audiences? And audiences can be a lot of different things. It can be, the working mom, or the it could be a lot of different things, all the different audiences that you impact. Your donors, your volunteers, your customers. And then you can start scripting out what are the 3 core benefits, what are the 3 steps for them to get from the problem that they're facing to the solution that you offer. And so I would love for everybody, if you choose to do this, I would love for you to send me your online sales script. And I would be happy to review it and walk you through it. So I didn't know how many people were going to join this session, but I'm comfortable doing this. So you can reach out to me at Brittany@See.Spark.Go.com and send me your online sales script, and I would just love to review it. That's just would be a fun thing for me, and I'd love to get to know more about the work that you do and the benefits that it offers your community, because you're changing the world, and I'm so thankful for you. So that's all I have for this talk, but I think we have about 8 or 9 minutes if people do want to ask questions.
Does anyone have a question for Brittany? I know her yeah, great.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am from Girls Breaking Chains organization. It's helping young girls who have parents who are incarcerated and helping them get over trauma. I enjoyed your presentation very, very much. I missed the introduction because I was getting some snacks.
Snacks are important.
The restroom. But when I sat down, you talked about See.Spark.Go. I'm just curious, how did you take that leap of faith to get started with See.Spark.Go? And just how are you continuing to sustain like what you guys want to aspire to do? But yeah, just curious how you.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. I tell people, actually, you guys are my friends and my family now, so I'll tell you, I started See.Spark.Go for my marriage. Super weird, but my husband was working in ministry. I was working in public relations on the agency side and West Coast clients. So it's no thing for me to be working Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. conference calls, because it's only 4 on the West Coast. And we were newlyweds 6 months in, and we thought, man, this is for the birds. He's working Sunday through Thursday, and I'm working Monday through Friday. We're like, something's got to give. So we both quit our jobs in 2007, and we said, well, we can do this from anywhere in the world. Where should we live? And so we moved to Athens, Georgia, home of both of our alma mater. We should have picked Seaside, Florida. We regret that. That's one bad decision we made. But we really didn't start with the end in mind. We didn't think we were going to do national brand storytelling. That was my background, and I loved it. I tell people I got bit by the brand bug. I love what brand can do for you. But we just were faithful with the small things and doing great work. And so that's my biggest marketing tip is to do really great work. Make the experience great.
Hi, I'm Stephanie James, and I'm actually a volunteer with my nonprofit, and I am the fundraising chair for AVA, which is the Atlanta Victims Advocacy Program. And we are actually there to help people who are victims of crime, whether it's bad check writing on your name or your husband was murdered or whatever.
Wow.
So our story is hard to tell because it is so personal, but I'm so committed to what we're doing because it's not race-driven, it's not sexual orientation-driven. So how would you suggest I begin my pitch? How do I begin that plea? Because one, I got an event tonight at the Commerce Club.
There you go.
But, you know, shameful plug. But it's hard to tell that story.
Yeah.
And how would you recommend someone put something into words that really helps to, with such a sensitive topic?
Yeah, well, you just gave 2 examples, even in telling us, this group, that story. And so I do think finding the stories of real stories that you've helped doing is going to be the most compelling way to do that. You told us to. I'm sure there's others that you could say, you know, and you could tap into the human expression that we all face of nobody wants to be infringed upon. And nobody wants to be stolen from, taken from, especially someone's life. And so if someone close to you has had that taken from them, can you imagine? So you've got the emotional appeal, you've got the layers of examples of things that have happened, and here's how we help. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dana, and I am also a graduate of the University
Go
of
Dogs!
Georgia. So go Dogs! Yes, ma'am. MSW. So I'm looking at as far as your brand and how long you said you've been doing this work. I look at like your logo and thinking about our organization. I'm with Families First, and I've been with them for a long time now.
That's great.
And as we shift strategic plans, sometimes when we're looking at our logo and as we are pivoting based upon our community and what the needs are, kind of what's jumped out to me was consistency. And it's one thing, although our strategic plan and where we're going with whom we're serving, our brand should remain consistent.
Right.
And so I'm just looking at, do you see companies changing logos or taglines, punchlines versus that
Staying the
remains
course.
consistent even if your strategic plan and who you're serving may shift?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're asking too is when is the right time to rebrand, if at all? Because you do want to maintain equity in what people know about you. And here's the number one thing you need to know is if you rebrand, there will be backlash. But it's okay if it does fit a longer term vision. And you want to rebrand if there's brand confusion on the part of your audience. So if people, and that goes back to what we were talking about, know yourself, lead yourself, but then know what your audience, how they're experiencing you, and are they getting it? And if they're not, then yeah, let's look at the brand identity. Let's look at our foundational structure and say, is our logo effectively telling the story of who we are? Is our website effectively telling the story of who we are? And if there's confusion, then yeah, let's focus on that and look at possibly rebranding.
Hi, I'm Tamika Key. I'm the founder of the Power of Girls. We're a nonprofit here in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus on confidence and leadership through international travel. One of the
that's
things,
awesome.
Thank you. One of the things that I've noticed, because I've been in a corporate role for a really long time, is that from a nonprofit perspective, we're talking from our heart.
Right.
But from a brand perspective, we're also still selling. So we can have the best stories, but if you're not connected to the high power, and I would say your organization would be one of those organizations, we're not going to be able to sell the story if you don't have that correct PR person. Sometimes it's about building those relationships. So sometimes I see stories that are out there that were pitched very well, but it's just, it's like anybody else's story. So I guess I just wanted to ask you from a transparency perspective,
Yeah.
do you feel that it's just about the sell at the end? Because that's when I think of a PR person,
Yeah.
and I'm a fundraiser, and I could fundraise and raise money all day. But when I talk to my PR person, she's a seller.
Yeah.
She's selling our story. So I just wanted to ask you that question from that perspective.
No, and thank you. I appreciate that. It dawned on me probably 5 years into my career that I was actually in sales. So I didn't get that at first. I thought, I'm just going to tell the best stories, and I'm going to write press releases and do the thing. But you are so right. And JJ, who works for StoryBrand, he also said that salespeople have a 3% approval rating. That's worse than politics. But this is the mindset shift that we all need to make, is that we're actually all salespeople. We're all telling a story in a way that we want to compel others. So it's not a transaction. I'm not trying to get you to buy from me, but I am trying to get you to do something. I am trying to get you to act. For me, I'm trying to place my story in your publication. So it needs to matter to your reader, your viewer, your listener, if it's a podcast. So I've got to think with the audience in mind. Why does this story matter to their audience? And that's exactly the framework that we walk through from a PR standpoint. I do think having a great PR team is helpful because we navigate the media landscape all day, every day. And we've got relationships with reporters all across the country, but we're also doing that in a myriad of industry. And so what's helpful is that we get to look under the hood for so many different industries and say, well, this works in the corporate world and this works in the nonprofit world. How can we marry those two things together? So I don't know if that helps or answer.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Evelina Pierce from Girls on the Run of Georgia. We're actually expanding in the Athens area right now.
Very good. Come see us.
And my question is about framing your story regarding the pandemic. We, like most folks, had a hard time during the pandemic, and we're slowly growing back, and we're proud of that growth, but things are still harder. We work with kids, schools, teachers, and the struggle it's still big. And I'm wondering, how would you recommend framing that?
So you're thinking, how do you frame the current state in light of the pandemic's effect on the organization? I think you cast a vision for where you want to be. And the fact that you're not there yet leaves a gap. That's the problem that you're solving. And so we need you, and you to help fill that gap and in order to achieve this vision. So start with the why and start with the end in mind. Where do you want to be? And cast a vision. We can talk about it more too.
Well, let's give a standing ovation to Brittany Thoms. Thank you
Sit.
so much for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you.